You've waited all week, and it's finally here. The Eat, Drink, Explore Weekly Travel Deals Extravaganza.
Good morning, everyone. Great to have you joining us. 8:49 now the time. And I'm your host, Randall White, joined by the lovely, talented Patty Pyburn.
Good morning, everyone.
As you know, Patty, it's time to hear insight from the best of the best, the gurus of bargains, the luminaries of budget travel. And this week, we welcome a former and, I guess you could say, current colleague, good friend of mine, Mark Silverman, to the program to teach us the ins and outs of timeshares.
Okay.
Nice to have you on the program, Mark.
Thank you, Randall. Good morning, Patty.
Good morning.
Of all of the years that we've worked together or have been on the same radio stations, we've never been together on the air.
That would be true. Well, that's because we filled in for each other so often.
Mark and I first met at KGO Radio in San Francisco. We were producing a number of different talk shows there. Mark went on to produce the Ron Owens Show, a long-standing #1 show up there in the Bay Area, and has his own show on timeshares, has had columns in the Bay Area papers, really knows just about everything you could possibly know about timeshares. So I started thinking about it a couple of weeks ago, and I thought, why haven't I had Mark on the show to talk about that during our travel segment?
Yeah, I think this is a great topic.
Patty, you know, being in the news, how often it seeps into the news that there's some sort of timeshare scam.
Right.
Which gives a black eye to all the valid and good timeshares out there.
The other thing, too, is it makes me think of the people who try to almost kind of trick you into going to a timeshare seminar. They don't want to tell you what it's about. Just come. You'll love it. It'll be great.
Right.
You're like, what am I getting myself into?
10 free days in Hawaii.
Yeah, exactly.
9 of those days I'm sitting in under the glaring light of a salesperson. Yeah. Mark, how true is our perception of timeshares?
The perception is definitely accurate. Is it a true reflection? I would say not. Most of the scams, the outright rip-offs, consumer abuse, frankly, comes on the secondary market. Not when you buy timeshare, but when you go to try to resell it.
Oh.
And the secondary market is so weak, there are a whole group of parasites that prey on those desperate to sell and extract large fees and deliver nothing. So that's really where the fraud is.
Who are the big
Patty,
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say what Patty describes, at least in terms of the sales presentation, that I would put that in the classification of puffery. And most people who know they're going for the free trip to Tahoe or to win the trip to Hawaii also know they're going to sit through a couple hours of a sales presentation.
Exactly.
Right. Who are the big players when it comes to timeshare? I'm a Hilton Honors and a Marriott Rewards member, and I get emails from both of their properties all the time telling me to come to Hawaii, that I can, the Hilton, I know, for one, has offered me some pretty good deals. I just couldn't get the time off at the time.
To take them up on it.
Right.
Are they the two big ones?
Hilton, Marriott, Disney is probably... Marriott is definitely the biggest. A company that started out as timeshare or recreational real estate, but was timeshare only as opposed to hospitality. It was called Fairfield Resort. Now it's Wyndham.
Okay.
They're timeshare specific, and they're probably larger in terms of owner base than Marriott, but Marriott, Disney, and Hilton and Hyatt are probably the biggest of the hospitality brands, and of course Sheraton, Starwood.
Oh. So all the big hotel players also have their own timeshare market, which I imagine run as a separate company under the big umbrella.
To one degree or another, yes. Marriott specifically spun theirs off into a separate company. Disney, it's part and parcel. Starwood, it's part and parcel. Hilton and Hyatt are just divisions of.
I see.
And it was Marriott's entry back in 1984 that probably led the way for what they call the flags, the hotel brands to enter the market, and it completely changed at least the credibility side of the industry, and frankly also to a large extent softened up the sales process, the developer sales process.
Well, Mark, I have to say my mom has been involved in a timeshare with a group of her girlfriends. They're all in their late 60s, early 70s, and it's all in the Southwest, so they're reasonable places she can get to. And since it's such a large group, she really has had nothing but great things to say about it. They go to Albuquerque, Sedona, some places in northern Arizona, and she's really enjoyed it quite a bit over the years.
The satisfaction rate among owners generally surveys at between 80 and 90%.
Wow.
Once you're in. And, I've always said it is a great product sold in a horrible fashion.
Well, that's interesting.
And by the way, your mother's experience or usage is pretty typical. It's dominated by what they call the drive-to market. People get resorts for travel 3.5 hours from home.
What happens, where does the non-satisfaction come in? Is it from people that just don't have time to take advantage?
Right, they have it, but they can't use it.
Right, so they're constantly like telling friends, I have this timeshare points. You can go ahead and use it because I'm not going to be able to get to it. I know our audio guy, Anthony, has talked about some friends of yours, right, that are always trying to unload the timeshare stuff. Is that where the dissatisfaction typically comes in?
The dissatisfaction comes in because they can't use it the way they left the sales presentation thinking they could.
Right.
And in large part, it's user error, and that's not fair to say. In large part, it's because there's not enough follow-through to show you how to use it. Mm. When you say, I want to go to Hawaii, and you call your exchange company, they say, that's not available. What they're saying is, it's not available now for what you are trading. But they don't always go into the best ways to make it available. And it will be available if you work the system correctly, but the owner hangs up and saying, well, I wanted Hawaii and I couldn't get it, and they don't try any of the other methods.
Oh. So what are some of the other methods?
We want to hear your advice to get over some of that dissatisfaction.
Well, some are conventional. Some are, first of all, if you're buying the wrong thing. In other words, if you're buying a one-bedroom in Indianapolis during the worst time of year, you're not going to be able to trade for a two-bedroom in Hawaii during Christmas. That just goes without saying. You have to be trading like for like.
I didn't know you had to trade things. I thought you just got you got 2 weeks a year and you got to pick wherever you wanted to go. What's the trading?
You own a particular resort generally, and now you a size, a season, and a location. You own a resort. I own a resort in Southern California. And I get to go into the exchange bank and withdraw something else if I don't want to use mine. I
get it. Okay. Mark, we have to leave it there. People can get a lot more information on your website, though, and listen to your show as well. What's your website?
TalkingTimeshare.com, Randall.
TalkingTimeshare.com. We have a link to it at eTrickExplore.com under the program summaries. Mark Silverman.
Thanks, Randall. Thanks, Patty.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us.
Good information.
It is good information, and maybe one of these days.
You'll be a timeshare owner, Randall.
I'll be a timeshare owner. Stick around, everyone. We have our trivia segment coming up in the next hour. You can play part, win a signed copy of a great book. 707 Trivia 8. 707 Trivia 8 is the number to call to be part of our game coming up in just minutes. You're listening to the Eat, Drink, Explore Radio Network. I'm your host, Randall White, joined by Patty Pyburn. Back in a moment.